Welcome to today's video, and I am super pumped because finally it seems like we've got a win with the weather. But let's just double confirm. Hey Siri, is it gonna rain today?
There's no rain in the forecast for today.
Which means I can get the Diff in the Skyline. I am super pumped. But another thing I'm really actually pumped on is I got someone to introduce to you. This is Harukachan, and she's helping with all the shipping of everyone's orders. But even though you're going to be getting an email saying that the orders are complete, they're not shipping yet. And that is because we're still waiting on JP Post. There is a link down in the comment section or the description that I'll put there where you guys can see updates in English live as they come out. So she's getting everything packed and ready. So the moment they start allowing airmail again, we can just drop it all off at the post office. So even though you're getting an email saying order is completed, that doesn't necessarily mean it has shipped yet. So please, everyone, if you know a friend that placed an order for the giveaway, please communicate this to them and let them know. If you see any comments, any messages in the Discord from anyone asking about orders, when they're gonna get their items, please explain this to them. I'd really appreciate you guys to help me spread the word. There's only so many times I can say in a video and a live stream and on my social media about shipping updates and stuff like that, but still obviously I know everyone doesn't get to check those all the time and misses those updates. So I would really appreciate it and love it if you guys could help me spread the word with that. So with that, let's get into today's video and get that 4-3 Diff goodness in the Skyline. It's gonna make a world of a difference. I'm so excited. Guys, the funniest, most embarrassing, dumbest thing just happened. I walked out here because I'm about to go get some bento lunch set things, right? And I saw this little puddle here and I'm like, that looks like Diff oil. And it is Diff oil. And you can see it's still leaking there. Like just wait. There it is. You see that? And then I realized I put the Diff in upside down in the back. My whole trunk is now full of Diff oil.
Sam, even I know you can't put Diff this way.
Well, you don't even know what's up and down though.
Yeah, I know. This is the top, this is the bottom.
That's actually the bottom and the top's
okay,
the one that's
mind.
upside down. She came out here to try and talk trash at me. Oh boy. Oh no. No, look at it all. Oh, this stinks so bad. A full Diff of oil is now everywhere in my trunk. Oh no! Ah, good job, Sam. Good job. Diff 1, SAMMIT 0. We're off to a good start today. Can you guys hear that on the camera? Because that is the true sound of summer. None of this rain that we've been getting the last few days, or few months. But anyways, that aside, I cleaned up the whole boot and everything. You see the kitty litter there on the oil, and I went and got lunch. But I'm now back here and I've pulled apart the 4-3 Diff that we're going to be putting in today. And two reasons why I pulled this apart and took the hat back off. One, we need to reseal this with some RTV so that it doesn't leak. And two, I just want to make sure everything's torque to spec. So I'm going to go over the two bolting points here on the bearings and make sure that that's torque to spec. And then what I'm going to do is go through and just spin these through and just make sure that there's no loose bolts on the crown wheel either, because the last thing I want is, you know, I don't know who put this Diff together, and I've heard situations where sometimes, you know, people just throw things together and then take them to Upgrade and sell them. Now this looks like everything's fine and it was generally used and not pulled apart or disassembled or anything. There's no signs of that, so I think it's going to be fine, but I'd rather double check than be sorry later at a track event and not be able to drive home. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to reseal everything up. We're going to fill it up with oil, and then what I'm going to do is jack up the car, put it on jack stands, pull the other one out, put this one in, and we'll go from there. Once again, thank you to the person that sent me these, because these are seriously a life changer for getting these exhaust hangers off. Seriously, they just pop off right away. This is going to slam down in a second, so kind of need to support it. There it is. Then we got to get these two here. But yeah, I know a lot of people were asking, like, what are these called? I found them on Amazon. They're just called an exhaust hanger pliers, like exhaust hanger tools. But one of you guys sent this to me, so thank you very much. Let's get the rest of these out, and there's that flat spot that I kept feeling on the road. Fast entries will do that. So as you guys saw, we got that piece of the exhaust taken off, and now we're gonna remove the Diff, which is a little bit of an ordeal. Like, there's a lot of things you have to undo, and there's a specific order that you really should try to do it in. What I always try to do first is disconnect the tail shaft of the propeller shaft here, because you can use the handbrake to help you prevent that thing from like spinning and rolling, but you should try to also use a pry bar to help you and like put it in there and like support it and stop it from spinning with that while you undo them, the bolts. The axle bolts you can do next. It's just a 14 mil on either side, so you can just keep rotating it. You don't need the handbrake or anything like that for that. And then really the only other thing is, once you have those things all disconnected, is you need to undo these two big bolts up here, which are a bit of a pain because they're normally like really close to level with the floor pan there. You can see I've scratched the like undercoating off there a little bit. You can try to use a wobble joint, but that can take some torque out of it, so just, you know, each to their own. And then the other two bolts are right there and there, and you want to slowly lower it out with a jack under there. So don't undo those 4 bolts until you've got a jack under there. Now sometimes you can get really lucky and you can get this thing out without undoing the sway bar, but I also find if you're doing this on the ground, it's a really good trick to just undo both of these little points here on the sway bar, rear sway bar, so that gives you a bit more room to kind of like flip this thing down and get the diff out a lot easier. So that's my pro tips. I'm gonna go ahead and do that now and get this thing out so we can get that 4.3 in there as quickly as possible. So I just finished undoing the axles, and I figured now that the silicone has all dried and whatnot, I would fill this thing up. I drained out any last little bit of oil that was left in there, and then I got this beautiful brand new Motul 75W140. Now, this is fully synthetic, and this is the same as the Nismo diff oil that you would get for a GT Pro LSD. It's about $20 cheaper per bottle if you buy the Motul brand, but if you get the Nismo one, it pretty much comes in the same bottle but with Nismo branding, and if you read on the back of the Nismo one, it'll actually say made by Motul with this same part number. So just save yourself a bit of money out there, guys. Get the Motul one, and yeah, trust me, when you start like, you know, going through oil every like 3 months and stuff, changing everything out in your diff and whatnot, like $20 is a pretty huge saving, especially like when you count it for like an entire year. So yeah, I think off the top of my head, normally 1 bottle is perfect to fill this entire thing. It's like 1.2, and I've already like overfilled this bottle a little bit there. You can kind of see it's there, so I've got that extra 0.2 in here. So see if we can do this one-handed without making a mess. There we go. I also like the little pourers on this, but whenever I'm doing it in the car, I've got the electric oil pump. So I'm going to squeeze this all in there. It's this nice, thick blue stuff, so you know it's good. Well, we have a problem here, lads. I'm surprised I didn't pick up on this sooner, but I was under there looking at my diff and like, hang on a moment. This is a ABS R200 with the ABS sensor here, which I believe was never in any of the Skylines. And what that means is that this is a long nose. So instead of it from this point here being straight away like the shaft connector here, there's an extra couple centimeters here. So from here to here is 7 centimeters when it should be only 5. So there's a 2 centimeter difference in length of the nose of this diff. Now in Skylines, I am under the impression that, especially in the 33s and the 34s, this is where the ABS sensors were, in the back here, and they would look at the gears here, alright? So this is most likely an S chassis diff with an ABS model. So this will be great for like a Silvia. Unfortunately, this will not work with my car because I have a short nose, and you can see that there's no extra piece there. It just goes straight to that and there. And my tail shaft will not like go in by 2 centimeters. It will go in a tiny bit, but not 2 centimeters. Like that's about all. Like it'll push in by like 2 mil, not 2 centimeters. So I could change the tail shaft, the propeller shaft, but it's honestly the wrong diff for the Skyline. So I think I'm going to take it back, which really sucks because I've already drained the oil, disconnected the propeller shaft and everything like that, to then discover, oh crap, this diff won't actually work in my car. Which really sucks because it was even advertised and everything as for a 33, 34 Skyline, but none of the Skylines had the long nose ABS diffs with this thing here. This is for an S chassis, like S40 and S15 with ABS, but it does have like a Skyline rear hat on it with these 2 sensor points here. So a little bit weird. It's nothing I can do. It is the right gear ratio that I wanted, but yeah, it's gonna, like, I can't even take the pinion out of this because this pinion is a long nose diff. I need a short nose diff pinion. So that wouldn't even work in my diff, even if I took the pinion and crown wheel out and switched them. So really big sad, but I'm glad I figured it out now, not when I'd already dropped the diff and went to put this in. So super sucks, but yeah, I think I'm gonna return this. And what I might do is look on Yahoo Auctions and see if I can, like there's plenty on Yahoo Auctions for the same price that are actually ones specifically for the 33 with the short nose diffs. So I'm gonna keep an eye out for that. But yeah, if you guys are ever in this situation, you know to look out for this thing here and make sure that it matches your model. So I'm gonna take all my brand new oil, drain it out of this diff and put it back in the bottle, because I ain't giving that back to Upgarage. That's like $70 worth of oil. But yeah, big sad, really big sad. If you're pumping oil into your diff and transmission any other way than this, you're doing it wrong. Seriously, these things are like 20 bucks off Amazon. You just get your normal like jump pack starter thing, and that's all it needs, 12 volts, and it'll fill it right up. Oop, need to push that in more. But yeah, seriously, the best thing I ever bought. Just sometimes they come with a really tiny hose, don't use that. You wanna cut the big hose in two and make sure you use that on both sides so it can suck like and flow like at a really decent rate. Well, this is kind of depressing, putting this thing on the ground and keeping the same diff in there. There's one thing I've learned is that with cars, 9 times out of 10 something goes wrong. But as long as you have a good attitude, you can always figure it out and make the best of it. So the best thing is Upgarage always give you, I think it's 2 weeks for you to return something. So I'm going to take this back to them. They'll refund my card and everything for the full amount. There ain't going to be no problems there, and I know that for a fact. I'm just honestly really bummed because I really wanted a 4.3 diff for my Skyline, and I was like, man, that's so epic. But the good news is I did find one on Yahoo Auctions, so I'm going to bid on that, and hopefully I can get that one by the end of next week. But for now, I mean, it is what it is. Now, there is something else I do want to work on in the engine bay. I found a boost leak, which is my blow-off valve. So as you guys know, I'm not a fan of blow-off valves. So what I did to my Skyline, because I couldn't find a block-off plate here in Japan for it, was I actually, one of my friends who works at a workshop here said that if you want to block it off, the cheapest, easiest, quickest fix is to just get like a can of soda and cut the perfect shaped flange and put that over there and then put the bulb back on it, and that acts as like a block off, right? The only problem is doesn't matter how tight you tighten it, seems like it's not sealing all the way. So I'm going to quickly undo the blow-off valve, and I'm going to put some RTV around it and seal it off that way. I do have a friend in Australia who has a CNC machine who's actually going to make me a proper block-off plate, so I don't have to have the bulb there at all. But one thing I was starting to consider was maybe actually putting a HKS sequential blow-off valve on this, because I was rewatching some videos when I built my 34 Skyline to 400 horsepower in like 3 days in Australia, and that thing just sounded so good with the sequential blow-off valve from HKS. So I'm kind of thinking about putting it on this. I don't know, you guys tell me in the comment section, should I break my no blow-off valve rule for the HKS sequential? Let me know and we'll make a decision. But I'm going to quickly seal that up and I'll show you what I mean. I'm pretty sure I used a monster can for that when I sealed it up. So let's take it off and have a look. This tool has seriously changed my life. Love it. Don't think I'll ever not use one. Alright, let's get these out without dropping them in the engine bay would be preferred. Need an extension for this other one. One other thing that you're going to find very interesting is that it's actually super common for Skylines to have boost leaks at the blow-off valve. In fact, 9 times out of 10, that's generally why a lot of people have hunting issues on the OEM ECU, because the blow-off valve flange always leaks on these. So, always try to put a bit of RTV on there. Now the other thing is, a lot of people don't know this, but your IACV valve will also become a vacuum leak, and not because like the valve itself is full of gunk or blocked or staying open or anything like that, but actually because of a design flaw. And let me show you. Nissan sealed the back of the IACV valve here with resin, and if you can see there, the resin always develops cracks in it. Might be hard to see that, but there are cracks in that resin. It's actually already been repaired once. So my ISCV valve is vacuum leaking for around and in here on the crack on the resin on the seal there. The other place it has a vacuum leak, there are two places that the ISCV valve always develop vacuum leaks on these, especially once they're at this age, is actually at the plug itself. Around the plug here is a huge vacuum leak. When I was spraying soapy bubbles here, it was just spewing out air. So, and that's resin as well, sealed around the plug there where it actually connects to like the solenoid. So this is where it kind of becomes viable to start looking at a brand new ISCV valve. It's already been repaired once, and even if I did re-resin that seal there on the back, yes, that would solve that leak, but it would not solve the leak of the actual solenoid itself. Unless I had a few secondhand spare ones lying around I could switch that little solenoid out with one that wasn't cracked and split internally, then we would be fine. But this point, it actually becomes viable to buy a brand new one. Now, this is where I got really frustrated. As you guys know, Nissan has heritage parts listings now. So any parts that were used on any of the older model cars are now listed as heritage parts. They don't necessarily, you know, they're not manufactured normally, and apparently it's like an extra thing they do or something. I don't know. Either way, they've just made a huge excuse to start charging more money for the same parts. And unfortunately, the 33 fell into that category for the IACV valve. And no, they're not $250 brand new, they're $500 brand new. And that is cost price. Yeah. So I ordered a brand new ISCV valve. I just couldn't be stuffed getting a second-hand one, knowing that that could also be cracked and develop another problem. And I just forked out the money. So I'm picking that up tomorrow. So we'll be replacing that with a brand new gasket. Then we won't have any more vacuum leaks on the car and no more idle hunt issues. And I can get the car tuned again and everything should be fine. So at the moment I've been having to do a lot of throttle and like accelerator balancing while drifting to keep the revs up so the car wouldn't want to stall out or something like with a big e-brake entry, which is fine. I like doing that. It actually makes drifting fun. But it would be nice to not have to worry about that when I'm trying to learn new technique. So anyways, back to the blow-off valve. This is literally my block-off plate from a Monster can. Might be hard to see, but this is all it is. It's just a can cut to fit the factory OEM gasket that then covers that and blocks it all off. And that's enough to pretty much block off the BOV. So that's what I'm doing. Blocking off the BOV, boys. I'm gonna pretty much just put some silicone, some RTV, a little bit like a little lip around the circle part, so that's going to seal completely now, and that there won't be a boost leak around there, because that's pretty much a huge boost leak. Like, so many bubbles were coming out of it, so that should solve it. If any of you guys saw my Instagram story, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to clean these now. There's a bit of oil and stuff like that on them. Clean up all the oil, put some RTV in them, and it should be good to go. So I finished tightening everything back up and sealed it all up, so you can see a bit of silicone there's kind of coming out, the RTV. ISCV valve, we're doing that tomorrow, and then what I'll do is once I replace that tomorrow is I'll repressurize the system. I just don't think there's a point checking now until I get that new ISCV valve, because there's still going to be a leak there. Now, in saying that, once I fix these two things, when we repressurize the system, obviously it's going to let us pressurize it even more because there's less leaks. So that gives us another opportunity to start looking for some more leaks in the system. Now, probably there isn't going to be any, but if there is, we will definitely be able to find them tomorrow once we put that new ISCV valve on there. But for now, that's it. We're probably going to have a few more PSI boost now. Means this thing's going to spool faster, which is always good. So just a pro tip for you guys with RBs, if you're fighting vacuum leaks and like idle hunting issues, pressurize the whole system and check your ISCV valve. Spray here with soapy water, spray around the plugs with soapy water, and also check your BOV flange. Even if that's sealed and blocked off with a block-off plate, it's probably still leaking, because a lot of the time those flanges are warped. So you need some RTV to make sure it's sealed properly. Anyways, I'm gonna go take this Diff back to Up Garage now, see if the wifey wants to come with me. Just arrived at Up Garage. Before we get out and hand in the Diff, after driving the car for a bit, we've definitely picked up some more response from fixing that boost leak, which I'm not surprised. But in the high gears, like, you know, second and third, it definitely is about like 150 to 200 RPM faster spool, which may not seem like a lot, but it's totally a noticeable difference. So I'm really happy about that. And tomorrow it's only gonna get even better with that ISCV valve fix. So I'm honestly pretty pumped, making this thing even more responsive and more reliable. I'll get my gloves so I don't get dirt and grease all over me from the Diff. Take this sucker in, make sure we got the receipt here too. Let's go. So the guys at Up Garage completely took the Diff back right away and refunded my money. They completely understood the issue when I pointed out that the casing was for a Sylvia, not a Skyline, so that was a win. But I think I'm about to make a silly purchase. Let's go talk to the guys. I just want to know if it's 2-stroke or 4-stroke, and then we might make a decision. It's a 2-stroke, but I don't know. I'm not really all that sold on it. I feel like it needs a bit of work, and the guy showed me a few issues. Carburetor needs to be replaced. I've never done any of that kind of stuff, so we might give it a miss for now. But that FD's back as well. Anyways, I think I'm going to pretty much wrap things up here. I'm going to go to Starbucks and get a coffee, but man, I'm excited to just get home tomorrow. New ISCV valve. Oh, some parts from the S15 as well we're picking up tomorrow, so it's going to be a good day. Lots of stuff to get done. Damn, check out that JZX 110 that just rolled in with the Atasha. That thing looks sick. Just before we leave, I spotted that super clean S13. That thing is goals. What I want to do is end this video with me encouraging you guys. I know there are tons of you watching this video right now that have your own car projects yourselves that you're working on where you've hit a roadblock. Something like what happened to me today with the Diff. You thought everything was all good, you started the job, and halfway through you find out you have the wrong parts or you're missing something or something just doesn't go according to plan. And I want to encourage you, it's okay. Crap happens. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's cars or anything else in life, something will always go wrong. It's Murphy's Law. But I think what is important is when something does go wrong, it depends on how you kind of like pick yourself up and finish. You know what I mean? I always try to finish well, even if I fail, make a mistake or anything like that personally, as long as I can still finish what I set out to achieve and, you know, finish well, I guess, like to a point where I feel like I still accomplished something, then I'm happy. And when something like this happens, take it as an opportunity. Take it as a learning experience. You know, better next time you know that you need to triple check things so that this doesn't happen again. Always think of it as a way to better yourself or save yourself. Like, you know, for instance, next time I'm going to triple check things like that so it's never going to happen again. I'm never going to waste that time and effort ever again because I've learned my lesson this way. So yeah, I don't know. Hope that encourages you guys. Get out there, get those cars finished, and don't be discouraged when things go wrong because no matter what, it's going to happen. Start learning to accept that something will go wrong. Just when it does, just deal with it a different way than you normally would. I don't know. I think you know what I'm trying to say. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. Smash that like button, write us a comment, and I'll see you all in tomorrow's video. It's going to be a good one. Peace out. Jamata.